the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What's a pity? Tomorrow never certain. What dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil smirking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. Hey, I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
Hey, 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 ladies and gentlemen, we are live and direct. Welcome to another episode of Case Closed. My name is Ike, and this is my channel. Let's go ahead and get one thing out of the way. Let's click that like button. Let's click that share button, okay? Go ahead and share on YouTube, on WhatsApp, on Facebook, social media, friends, you know, DM groups, whatever it may be. Today, we are talking about one of those topics that is not cool, not polite to be talking about. Okay, with polite company, if you will. Never bring up religion in or at the dinner table, right? We're going to be talking about God, religion, truth. Well, what does one have to do with the other? What the hell does God have to do with religion? What does truth have to do with religion? And we came upon this because last week we were talking about who's lying to you and what are the different lenses through which we can view the world in order to collect data appropriately, in order to overcome our tendencies for biases and fallacies, if you will. And when you talk about worldviews of this kind, you're going to come up with religious worldviews, and there's going to be questions asked by the real Dana to Spiritual Logic and everyone else regarding truth, authenticity, authorship, okay, and how this thing called religion or the Bible, a biblical worldview, folklore, as Dana would put it, how it can adequately inform your worldview these days. But we're gonna get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, go ahead and settle down. Click that like button, as I said. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Click the bell button twice. Now, Dana, you said that it is important, correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm paraphrasing, to be able to stand back from something that you're associated with, let's say a religion, a nationality, some kind of ethnic group, some kind of club where there's some kind of agenda that you're, shall we say, taking. You can stand back away from it and look at it scientifically and study it, so that you can understand where it's coming from and where it's going. Do you think that this is important? And was this what you were trying to highlight when you were talking about the source of the Bible? In other words, do you think it's important to be able to stand back and examine whatever is handed down to you, whatever wisdom is handed down to you? Is this what's really at the source, at the heart of this, Dana?
Well, I think you need to step back and examine what you believe and what you were taught. So, you know, if you believe in something, you need to examine, why do you believe it? Was it taught to you, passed down through teachings when you was a kid and now you're an adult? So anything you believe, you need to go back to the source of why do you believe that, right? Mm-hmm. And okay, so what source led you to believe it? What other sources out there? So you should always go to the source of what you ask yourself, why do I believe something, right? And then dig deeper. But for me personally, as an adult, and the older you get, the more you evolve, you're supposed to. I always like to, go. I'm searching for a higher being, higher than Jesus Christ, basically, right? And in order to do that, you have to go to the beginning. Like, I don't start in the middle. or mid-end, or either I'm gonna start in the beginning or I'm gonna start in the end and work myself back, or start from the beginning. And that's why I like to start and then work myself to where we're at today. Jesus Christ really starts at the middle, or somewhat the middle to the end. And it was a whole bunch of stuff that happened, that existed, culture, civilizations, different types of way of life and religion and teachings way before Jesus Christ.
So, looking at the genealogy of things, okay, and again, I'm paraphrasing what you said, and then I have a question for you, spiritual logic here. So, you're saying yes, it is important for maybe your psychological well-being, and also just to be a clear-thinking human being, to be able to examine the things that certain propositions that you hold in your head, right?
I'm sorry. Let me, and just before we get into the show, because you need to go back to the source, honey, that takes a lot of reading and studying and research. I'm still a student. I'm like the beginner student, because it's like, okay, I grew up in a Baptist church. I need to go and read other things, specifically Civilization or Barbarism by Cheikh Diop. And I have not started to read it yet. I'm just referencing it. So yeah, it takes a lot of reading and research. So that's all.
Good. So this part, I don't even think I need to ask spiritual logic, that we all agree that, look, critical thinking, to be able to look at, examine our presuppositions and our axioms, is key. Now, we're also smart enough to know that we'll never be free of biases and presuppositions and whatnot, and our ability to actually look at this thing is limited, right? Our ability to be objective is limited. We're also smart enough to realize that. But let me ask you this, spiritual. Do you agree on the side that, look, there's an agenda behind many things that are out there, and if I don't look at the genealogy, in other words, the origin story of any particular, shall we say, in this case, religion or book, then I may be missing some agenda. Maybe the person who wrote this book says, I'm writing this book to enslave Black people, right? And if I only looked 500 years back, maybe I would have saw that. I would have got the memo. And then I'll be like, no, don't go to that book. So is there any validity to, hey, I got to look at genealogy, I got to look at timeline, I got to really look at where something is coming from, because I may be able to understand some perhaps hidden agenda? Does that play?
Yeah, I've looked at the genealogy and the origins of the Bible versus, and also of other religions, not because I question the Bible, but because I want to know why people believe what they believe. And the difference between the Bible and other religions mainly is that the Bible doesn't deal with the man-centered things like pride and your skin color and origin, but it deals with the evil that begets all people. Because if we don't make of evil the enemy here, then we're missing the point, and we're fighting each other, never working towards an actual solution towards anything, just fighting over semantics and our pride. And that's what we see now in the world.
Okay, spiritual. Before, because I think I see what you did here. Okay, you're saying, okay, look, you want to know why people believe what they believe. You don't question the Bible, and the reason you don't question.
No, I have. I've actually, questioned it when I first read, when I was a kid, because I didn't understand. I didn't become a religious, or I'm not religious, but I didn't become a Bible believer because of what my family did. Matter of fact, I was always different from what they believed, because I actually wanted to know where they got what they believed from. And I analyzed my own life, and I looked at the things that I had an issue with. Like, when I was born, I wasn't born with my parents. I was born in a situation where, as a child, I had a lot of questions. Why am I here? Why is my life like this? Such and such. Why is everybody going to this church building? Why are they doing these things? And so somebody said, well, this is the word of God. So I read the entire book before I was 10, several times, from beginning to end. And I analyzed it against what it said and what I was living. And then, and this is before I even branched out to understand that other people believe different things. And I realized that this book actually gave me the answers that my objective reality was begging.
Okay. And we will get to the relationship between morality and then truth, because I think that that's an important thing. Because, for example, there is a notion out there, which I disagree with, that you can get morality from scientific truth. I don't think it takes much thinking in order to realize, oh no, that's not where it comes from. Like there is no equation that I can give you to tell you what you should do with a set of facts. You know, there's no equation I can give you to tell you, okay, here's the reason why you should not do bad things. Like it doesn't quite work that way. You always got to start with a particular end in mind. Like if you want to be the president, then don't do this. If you want it, there is no kind of objective scientific knowledge that I can give you. Okay, but that's a separate thing. Now, Dana, let me ask you this question, and then it also goes to spiritual. Okay, because one thing that if I were to push back against your position of examining your presuppositions is where do you start and stop this? So spiritual brought up his worldview, and you were like, you know what? I'm starting to question that a little bit. Like, let's go deeper. What is your knowledge about this? Do you know where it came from? You know what? You're testing people's knowledge of things that they profess, right? You're testing people's background knowledge about the things that they profess. But how far do you want to take this? Are you going to go to every village out there and talk to every grandma, tap them on the shoulder and be like, hey, that relic there that you're praying to, it's not going to work, right? And when you do that, what are you actually doing? Here's the pushback. Pushback says what you're doing is when you take the perch off of them, you knock the stool out of under them, you're not elevate. They're not all of a sudden going to become Isaac Newton. They're going to fly above and now become a theologian or a philosopher and get a higher ground. They're just going to fall. They're going to go into nihilism, confusion, disbelief. So Dana, the pushback is, again, why do you go about, where do you stop? Where do you draw the line telling people, hey, that's not really true. That's not really true. Because what do you actually have to give them to replace it with? What is grandma in the village now going to do? Is she going to become a theologian like you? No, you're just confusing her. What do you have to say about that, Dana?
I'm about to say everything you just said was completely wrong. So I'm like, I let you talk. And I'm like, he's rambling. Because I specifically said last week, and this is how I don't go around telling people what they believe is wrong, what they should believe. That's not my place. And I would never do that. You know, I'm talking about me, you know, my journey, you know, what I prefer or what I may believe. So I push back. And it's not, I won't even say a pushback, but if I throw a question, that's me questioning, but that's not me trying to convince somebody else to think the way I think or try to say, oh, the way you're thinking is wrong. I don't do that. And I didn't do that last week. I just said that, you know, I did say, and that was to Dr. Thunder as well, because spiritual, he said he wasn't a Christian, but Dr. Thunder is. So I said,
I'm a Bible believer.
You are a believer.
A Bible
believer. Right. So, and you said you didn't subscribe to any religion, right?
The term religion has nothing to do with the Bible.
But you said you don't subscribe to no religion.
No.
Okay. So I was saying that as far as, you know, people who make decisions or judge everything via the Bible or via their religion, whatever it may be, I question it because and then I was like, well, that would be more so towards Dr. Thunder. But I said for me, as far as the Bible, that is folklore, right? A lot of it is folklore. There was religion, civilizations before the Bible, and then I brought up Kemet, and that's when spiritual pushed back on that. It was like, what is that? I never heard of it, right? So it's like,
okay, said that.
You didn't say you never
heard of Kemet. I'm very familiar with Kemet.
Well, you didn't say that last week.
Yes, I did.
No, you did not.
I said it was.
I have a bunch of black people on the panel, and everybody knows about Kemet.
And you rolled it. So maybe you were being funny, you know, sarcastic, but you can roll that tape back. Because I was like, I said, so how are we going to have this conversation if you're not familiar with Kemet, Kush? You know, so you was like, what, you know, you weren't.
No, that's not what I asked you.
You said, where is it? And I'm like,
no, where I asked you is, why do you believe Kemet?
It's Kemet. It's not a belief. It's an actual place.
But you're using that to say that.
No, I'm using Kemet is place. It's not just what we see Egypt is today. That wasn't just Kemet, but I'm using Kemet. You know, the Kemetic times, because that was thousands of years of civilizations.
But what I asked you is,
place
how do you know
the Bible?
What I asked you is, how do you know that the Kemet account of history is true?
Oh, because it's right in here. It's been researched.
Because
and
it's
that's
in the
why,
book.
and that's where I go into scientific research.
And why do you
it was
believe? So
scientific
you believe
research.
everything that's in every book.
In this book, yes. In this
Why?
book, I do. The same
Why?
reason why you believe the Bible. But this, but
Explain to me
this,
why you
but
believe. No,
this,
that's
I'm
not why I believe
explaining
the
it.
Bible.
I'm explaining it. Calm down.
I'm calm. I'm just asking
This
questions.
book is scientific research proven to be true. When you're talking
But
about,
based on who?
when you're talking about anthropology, anthropologists, scientists, researchers, actual archaeological findings in that part of Africa. So it is factual.
I'm going to be the judge here, and I'm going to say
religion.
that Dana, that's good enough, because then you can name the book, and then anyone could go look at it, and then
Yes, the Civilization or Barbarism and Authentic Anthropology by Cheikh Diop.
So let me ask you a question, Dana. Do you believe you're descended from an ape? That came from a scientific book as well.
We're not okay. Whoa. We're not gonna go and try to undermine the entire foundations of
I'm not a
science by
descendant
throwing
from the rib of Adam.
But
Okay?
what?
So
but
the fact
who,
is that
but
when
who
you're talking
determines
about
what
when
is
you're
science?
talking
But who
about,
determines what is science when science says that you evolutionary came from an ape?
well, this is, if you believe that, but other people believe it's not just an ape. A lot of people believe the human life force evolved from ocean, or a species that was in the ocean or whatever. So listen, like I said, I am not a scientist, but the fact is that, did we evolve from an ape? Well, that's something that could be debatable. But the fact is that humans did not come from the rib of Adam.
Okay, here's definitely we know we're not gonna open up evolution. And if you want to check out evolution, ladies and gentlemen, I did a show with Jay Ibrahim a couple of weeks ago looking at a certain aspect of evolution that has to do with what Darwinism shows, which is gradual, slow change of, shall we say, phenotypical things as a result of changes in the environment, right? And that we can observe, let's say, in a petri dish through generations of viruses, right? Evolving and changing, mutating, if you will, versus speciation, which is a discontinuous broad jump, right? Okay, if you're interested in those kinds of topics, we could talk about that. However, I think that Dana can point out a book, and then people with their brains can go and follow through both logic and empiricism. And not that everyone is good at this. Most people are not good at consuming scientific information or knowing what it is, but we are not going to be here legislating how to consume it. It's like, put the book down there, I'll read it, and I think the book is BS.
Right. And wait, 1 second, because this is not a book you pick up and you read like coffee table. Like, you don't sit and read this in one setting. You read it, and then you literally have to highlight. You have to go research their references and citations. So when I got this book today, this is one of my sources just to present. I'm not going to go through this. And I just highlighted the chronologic table of evolution of humanity.
Well, let me counter that. Let me counter that to what you said. If she says she can make a claim that says that we did not come from Adam and Eve, that the Bible is a folklore, and she's basing this claim on science, which is subjective because science says many things that many people don't believe. So where's the continuity in science if she validates her claim based on science that says something else that she might not believe in?
Where's the continuity of the Bible?
Is
the Bible objective or subjective?
Let me. Okay, so spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you use the word epistemology a lot.
Yes.
You know that this is an epistemological question, but by the time before you go behind the epistemological curtain, you can just say some things like, "Hey, if you want to go argue different kinds of epistemologies, and I want to know what truth is, yes, we can have that conversation for sure, 100%. However, we should just leave it at the level of you present your evidence, okay, and then people can go look for themselves, right?"
But you gotta tell Dana that. But you gotta tell Dana that because she's using her epistemological argument to discredit what I'm saying.
Oh no! I'm not. No, what I said is you're asking, okay, what does Dana know? How does she know this? And I'm saying Dana has presented her evidence, and it's up to people to go look through rationality and empiricism, okay? And that the fact that they're gonna make mistakes. 100%, like 90% of people who go look at this thing are going to come up with the wrong conclusion, right? But I'm not going to teach them right now. Neither of us are going to teach them.
But I would like for him to present some type of his evidence, of his sources.
I can do that. Let me put something on the table also, and bring Ramil in. Spiritual. I'm I'm gonna say this again, spiritual, but we'll come back to it.
What's up, bro?
I don't think that the story of Cain and Abel. Okay, I'm not gonna look at the story of Cain and Abel and try to figure out when it actually happened. If there was a guy called Cain, or if what the percentage of nitrogen in the air was, and if the book accurately represented it. Did it accurately represent the particular flower, or flora and fauna, animal life and plant life? It's like, that's not what the book of Cain and Abel is about. Okay, this has nothing to do with its quote unquote scientific empirical truth in my mind. And this also goes to the question here about the question of talking about objective reality. I never said there was no objective reality. I said, no matter what I tell you about objective reality, I cannot tell you, or it does not tell you, what is right or wrong. There is no amount of data I can tell you about hydrogen that becomes helium, and then the sun does this, and the energy comes from here and there. I can describe the whole three-dimensional space-time causality of everything around this solar system. It's not going to tell you the first thing about what you need to do in order to be, quote-unquote, a good person, right? And that's where I say, when you look at the book of the story of Cain and Abel, that's about what to do. When you've gone out of the wrong, when you've taken the wrong path, when you become resentful of existence itself, and that's not like a scientific thing. So that's why I don't even see the point of trying to validate scientifically, quote unquote, folklore. Right? It doesn't. The point. It doesn't make it less true. Even if Cain was there and Abel was actually there, does it make the thing less true or false?
No, I think no. You're absolutely right. And this is not. I'm not trying to do that myself. But
okay.
What I'm trying to do is just make a quick correlation is like when people say the 10 Commandments. Well, before the 10 Commandments, there were 42 laws of Mahat. So it's so what I'm saying is whatever is in the Bible was already written before the Bible was written.
But you can't prove that but without believing the history of somebody else. You can't prove that's true. You're just reading that from a book. You're just reading that from a book. And you're believing what somebody else said to discredit what another book said.
Right. So
this on a logical thing.
Let me just say this. But here's the thing. You're basing the Bible right now as if the Bible is true, and you haven't proved that it is or isn't, right? But the fact is that I can say actual scientists, researchers, has actually proven the civilization and those teachings of those peoples of those times.
They haven't proven anything. They just said
no, you haven't. You have not sat up here.
No. I can. Let me tell you why the Bible is true. The Bible is true because it draws an objective standard that displays everything that we actually need in reality. Everybody needs morality. If it was no morality by an objective standard, then who determines whether murder is right or wrong? Is it right when the government does it? Is it wrong when a person does it? Nobody wants their possessions being stolen. The only difference that separates a people from their pride to justify their actions are an objective moral standard that has to be agreed on, that everybody is on the same level to a higher standard of all things, which comes from a creator. Now, my question to you is, if you don't even believe in a God, how do you draw an objective moral standard that's higher than everybody to hold everybody accountable to the same standard?
Right. I didn't say I didn't believe in a God. It's just the fact that for me, God is not a person, place, or thing. It's not a noun. But what you just explained, as far as the Bible, I believe that. That's what the Bible is for. But what I'm saying is those way of life, those teachings was already written before the Bible.
Okay, so let's get Ramil in.
Hey, I'm listening, man. I'm over here enjoying the.
Can I just say something about Ramil real quick?
You over there? You rolled up a fat one.
It's Easter, honey, and I'm not. I don't celebrate Easter like that. But thank you, Ramil, for the BS this morning. I really appreciate it.
I'm with it, man.
Yes, honey.
That's just what it is, man.
Start my day.
Every morning, man, I'm with this shit. That's what I do. I get everybody's day started. You know what I mean? But I don't celebrate Easter either. But I'm just listening. Spiritual. I fuck spiritual. That's my man. I think he's a very intelligent person. We did a show a couple weeks ago, and he brought some very good information. He always brings some new stuff to the table, and I can appreciate that. But he finna hate me, man, because when it comes to this Bible, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, man, I can't fuck with it, man. I'm sorry, dog. That Bible is just too many contradictions. There's too many things that don't make sense. I mean, it's just, I just can't put it together, man. And, I'm not saying science is 100% on point. The white folks be lying about stuff too, but I just can't get. It's too many contradictions. You can't really historically cross-reference. It's just a lot of inconsistencies, man. And I just don't think a man in the sky is watching me, trying to, make me repent for sins. You know how much crazy stuff going on? What is it saying? The people who do the most sins seem to live the best life. Shit. They, the very wealthy have no sort of they don't care about anything. I mean, they'll slaughter whole countries and whole people, and they seem to be living good. So, I'll just leave it at that. But like I said, I was just listening to the back and forth earlier.
All right, cool. So, behind the scenes, okay, I mentioned something because I know that this was going to happen in terms of there's the truth, there is God, and then there's religion, okay? And if you keep on confusing these things or thinking that, they always have to be stuck together all the time, then you're going to get into confusion. And one of them that can always be removed is God, because God doesn't have nothing to do with religion, right? Per se. In other words, like, God doesn't have anything to do with anything. So what did this guy just say? Yes, God doesn't have anything to do with anything. Okay, God is God, right? So when Ramil said, hey, what is the good, right? The people whom are pushing a particular notion of the good or religion are doing the worst things. That's people and religion again. And also there's the truth, which has to do with, let's say, scientific truth and objective facts. And it doesn't really tell you much about morality. And then you have this other thing called God, which for me is just the self-willing into existence. God is the unquestionable axiom. That's why I don't like answering the question, do you believe in God? Because it's like a strange question to ask.
I say, do you believe in yourself? That God is within, we're God. God is within us. So I would take that as an answer too, because the question it's almost kind of like, well, you're here. Why are you even asking? It's like asking, am I here? Are we here?
Well, let me say this real quick. But think about that, because I agree. My thing is, one of the reasons why I have a problem with the Bible is because I don't even think whatever the higher power is, I don't think we can comprehend it. I don't think we won't even understand what it is. So when some white dude says this is God handing you the talent, I'm like, dude, like, I don't think we can comprehend whatever that force is. I don't think we'll be able to understand it within our like paradigm. Like, so when somebody tries to write it down, I'm like, dude, how can you understand what, create?
Let me ask you this question quick, Ramil, and then we'll go to Dr. Thunder real quick here. So I'm with you 100%. When people ask me, okay, do you believe in God? I always give them the answer, which is, look, I don't know what you mean. And if you want to find out what people like me exist, and Jordan Peterson is our current representative. Okay, that's how I say it. Like, if you want to find out what people like me think about. No. What I mean is, you can go listen to me in my, let's say, my meditative, shall we say, playlist, or listen to Jordan Peterson's review of the Bible to understand what people like me, whom have always existed, think about these kinds of questions. For us, it's not a question of, shall we say, propositional truth back and forth about it's like, no, it's all experiential. It's all basic on the fact that I'm here. And from the fact that I'm here, there's just certain deep, they used to call us shamans, okay? Right? Like, it's all spiritual and experiential. It's not a question of whether you believe this proposition or that. It's like, dude, like, it's very experiential. And as I said, Jordan Peterson is a very good representative of that kind of a belief. But let me ask you this now. From this shaman point of view, which knows 100% that people start talking about God as though they can say anything about it. I just know, what the hell are you talking about? You already made a mistake. But don't you agree, Ramil, that, or do you have any desire for the pursuit of this question insofar it is related to meaning in your life or fulfillment, whatever it is? I'm not saying go take it from someone else. I'm saying you, even knowing that, okay, I cannot answer this, but there is something there. There is a placeholder. I am, after all, actually here. So I'm not going to take the white man's version, but I'm not going to let him be the only person answering or dealing with that question, if that makes sense, Ramil.
No, I agree. Yes, I think you have to find your purpose within yourself, and that might take a long time to do that, because I'm going to be honest, I don't think any of this means anything. That's what I'm at with. I mean, we watch Animal Planet, you see like this, you got predator and prey, like, we're mammals as well. We're just smarter than all the other mammals. Only reason why they ain't kill us because we was able to build weapons and shelter and all of the stuff. Like, I really have trouble finding the meaning of life from a macro perspective. But from a micro perspective, I can cultivate my own purpose with the time that I have here, and the able body and the able mentality. I can use my tools to create my own purpose, which I feel works for me. But that's why I'm at with it.
Good enough. Okay, Dr. Thunder, you've come in. Okay, and you got a tie on. That means you're probably
Oh,
working
his Sunday
today.
best.
You got your Sunday gig. It's
Salute,
Easter
Dr.
His
too.
Thunder,
Easter
man. Salute.
suit.
What's going
All
on, Dr.
right.
Thunder?
Esther,
What's up?
Esther, the goddess of fertilization.
I asked a
Right.
question too. All right there.
That
I'm
ain't in the
okay.
Bible.
Let's hope
Yeah,
Dr.
I don't
Thunder's
know.
wife is not in the chat again. But anyways,
Yeah, right. That's
I asked
all.
Dana a question earlier
you-
about knocking
you know
people
you
off
ain't
their
into it.
perch, about examining your belief. That's where we started from. How important is it? Okay, do you think it's important to take a dispassionate, removed, almost objective view of what is this thing I believe? And where does it come from? What's the history? Whom are the church fathers? Let's say we're looking at the Christian view. What did they say? How did they disagree with each other? How did these different branches come to be? And maybe even go back and talk about things such as repeating themes. Let's say the flood. That's in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and it's also in the Bible, right? This kind of repeating theme of destruction, or repeating theme of maybe a virgin birth of a son of God, right? That kind of a thing, right? Is it important to study this thing in a critical way? How important is that to you, Dr. Thunder?
So I don't think that first of all, the reason I have a tie on is because I had a gig. This is a strange time for I played with the Columbus Jazz Orchestra, and we had rehearsal started on Monday, so it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we had 4 shows: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. As long as I've been playing in this band, it's the first time we've had one that coincided with Easter. It's a very kind of a strange thing. But then I'm a church musician also, so I had church earlier. So it's been a busy day, busy week, a lot of stuff going on. And to Dana's point, she was trying to troll me before I even got in. To Dana's point, yes. I don't call it Easter because that's not the term that it ever was called. That it started getting called that later on. In the East, I'm Orthodox. In the East, we call it Pascha. Pascha means resurrection. So I usually refer to it as being although honestly, I don't have a huge issue with people calling it Easter. So this is. So does something have to be first in order to be correct? Or in other words, if something existed prior that is similar to, does that necessarily mean that there no longer is any truth within it? Because you're able to point at something else that is similar prior, does that invalidate? Another question is about the cross itself. I have a cross on. I always have a cross on. So the crucifix actually initially was a pagan symbol. Okay, so crucifix was a pagan symbol, and it was actually kind of a sign of death, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't
So
say.
that's how they would punish people in those days.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like an electric chair. Wear an electric chair around your neck. Anyways.
That's right. So when Jesus was crucified on the cross, that transformed the meaning of the cross. I mean, you can go through history and you can find all kinds of symbols that would look similar to other symbols, but it's the meaning in the symbol that is important.
The swastika of the Nazis is also an ancient Hindu religious thing. Go ahead.
Right. So you can find those things. That's not particularly that line of countering Christianity or any religion for that matter is not particularly effective to me. It doesn't cause me to have any particular issues. Also, I don't see science and religion as being oppositional. We're talking about different ways to access knowledge. Science is more about what you can basically put your hands on right now. religion things, aspects of faith, trust, of confidence, these kinds of concepts are based on historical representation of facts, right? So, for instance,
Okay, so pause one second. Okay, so you got facts. Okay, and on the other hand, one would say you have this other thing about stories, which you call historical representation of facts, and that you can only learn about quote unquote what it is to live correctly by telling me a story of Cain and Abel, rather than tell me the story of there's something called a man, there's something called a woman, there's something called a tree, there's something called and all these facts together. But rather, if you tell me a story about things that somehow that gets okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, so it's interesting. I find it interesting that a lot of folks that are pro science are also anti-religion. That seems to be a usual thing. But one thing that's interesting is that if it had not been for the Catholic Church, many aspects of science would not have developed to the extent that they did. Actually, the Catholic Church is very much responsible for creating creating a place for scientists.
What do you mean? Scientists existed before the Catholic Church did. So, but what do you mean?
Yeah, what I'm saying is,
in the let me see if okay, in the Western tradition, in other words, if you can draw a line
okay,
here,
the West. Thank you.
Right. Then within the monasteries, it's actually where, for example, the writing of music, actually they invented musical notation, and many we know about George Mendel in his genetics and stuff in that history.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just say this: the Western, European, white people, yes. So, but it was already written, music, science. Yeah, Kemet, Kush, just Africa, period. It already existed, was already done.
Well, Christianity
so the Catholic Church don't get credit for nothing but just blessing the first slave ship. Yes. So no.
Yeah, well, so actually Christianity is not really a Western religion. It's actually Eastern religion.
But we're not talking about, you're talking about the Catholic Church.
Well, I'm Orthodox. I'm Eastern Orthodox. So
were you just kind of given some kind of hey, religion does allow for science sometimes, at least in this particular historical period with this particular context, that they don't necessarily have to be opposed. But let me shout out your super chats before you jump in there, Dr. K.
Can Dr. K fix that mic a little bit?
Yeah. What's up with this freaking Kenyan internet, tin can, East African BS microphone? Like, we were over here bigging up Africa. Here comes this dusty nomad in the desert somewhere. Anyways, let's shout out.
His complexion is so dark that
it's Is it all right?
That's his now.
I think it's getting better, but hold on. Let me shout out your super chats again. I think Dr. K has been blessing us quite generously here with a number of super chats amongst other people, but I've not acknowledged any super chats. And before we completely lose them, let's go ahead and start. Now we got Uncle Stu, the old man on the block, right? Thank you very much for the $5 super chat. Okay, the next one comes from Dr. K, Kaizoria, right there, and it says it's just a super sticker. I believe it's $50 worth.
Is $450? Is that what it is?
Yes, 500, which is $50. Yeah, if you look at the super sticker, the one where the guy is doing the thing on the building, that's a $50 super sticker.
Oh, okay.
And then, that's Kenyan, dusty Kenyan shillings, right there. We have.
Okay, here I'll tell you what that is. That is $3.47.
37 cents?
No, $3.47.
This other one here, which is
okay. Wait a minute, you got a 2,000 joint.
Got 2,000.
Getting into the big money now.
Another 2,000 where he says support the show, guys. He says support the show. Okay, we're shouting out the super chats.
33 cents.
Excellent. Tallying up way more than most of y'all guys have given out there. You guys that are laughing right now, talking smack. You guys have not given anything. But anyways, we have another super chatter here from Blind Guy's Wife Their Life. It has been a while indeed since I saw your $20 super chat. Representing in the building says, glad to catch an early live stream. Hope you've been enjoying your baby girl. Yes, indeed. All
you just had a baby?
Yeah.
Well, your wife had the baby, but you welcome a new
Yeah.
baby.
I
Oh,
think she
He had
did.
a what?
Yeah.
congratulations.
What was like 6 months or something? 5 months? What is it
No,
now?
it's not that. It's not that long. It was December. It's
What
not that
about
long.
solo
Y'all just putting
TV?
all Ike business out there. Y'all don't care at all. Y'all
What
just
about
he
solos?
ain't trying to tell y'all that stuff. He's like, y'all putting all this business out there
Well,
like
the
that. That's
guy
crazy.
put it out there. So I'm just asking.
Yeah,
Is this
well,
your first?
Ike don't want y'all to know him like that. He like, man, y'all don't need to know me like that. Come on, man.
Well, how he know he had a kid if I can put it out there?
I'm just playing. I'm just
Yeah.
talking shit.
Sometimes these things leak out. Generally
that
speaking,
your
I don't put
first?
stuff out there, but I don't mind.
that your
Yes, it is
first
my
baby?
first.
Aw.
Correct. Yes. So shout
Little
out
girl.
$20. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I'm late. Solo TV 84. Okay, says he's got a topic for me. I'm gonna text him later. We're gonna talk about it. You're gonna incorporate crypto with God or something like that. You got the God coin. Is that what we're gonna do here? Solo TV 84. But anyway, so Dr. K, you wanted to hop in. You wanted to say a few things. There are a few things that have already been said. We know that this thing about God is not necessarily neatly tied to religion or one-to-one all the time. Religion has other things to consider, human institutions, human frailties, and whatnot. And then there's the truth, which is out there, which often has, which we can look at it in two forms. Dr. Thunder already told us before that there are these facts, which, by the way, don't tell us what to do. In order to tell you what to do, I have to arrange these facts in a particular way that tells me, for example, the hero's journey. And then you'll see the hero's journey repeat a particular pattern, for example, let's say through the Epic of Gilgamesh or the story of Abraham. And does it mean that the hero's journey is less true because I saw it somewhere else before? All these questions have come up. Dr. K, what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, so I want to first respond to the point about like religion and science. Actually, Islam is one of the greatest contributors to science. Algebra, trigonometry, we can go on, right?
All the owls out there.
Right, exactly. So no, Islam actually was a great
Alchemy.
institution. Not just exactly, not just that. Also, the first university was created by a woman in North Africa. So the point is, this idea that religion is necessarily contradictory to science is false. It just isn't correct. Now, what is in contradiction to anything else is culture.
What does a woman have to do with? I'm okay.
I don't understand where he's going because we're not saying that one is contradictory. We're not even comparing the two. So
okay, go ahead, Dr. K. I'm sorry.
How do you get on a panel, honey? Because he was on this panel last week. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we have to bring in some people to kind of help.
But we have
Ramil
and Dr. Thunder, but this supposed to have been a conversation between me and Spirit.
Oh, okay.
But go ahead, Dr. K.
Go ahead, Dr. K.
Yeah, so I want to put the point here is that religion, or rather spirituality, has nothing to do with facts. It's more about the spiritual essence. We're body, spirit, and mind. So if you can't understand that the spirit is an essence that is required to be fulfilled, then the issue there is that you're just looking at the wrong circumstance. A body has to be fulfilled with food, spirit has to be fulfilled with spirituality, and then a mind has to be fulfilled with intellectualism. So at the end of the day, religion kind of helps bridge that gap and kind of create an order that allows the average person to engage with spirituality. Same way that agriculture allows the average person to engage with physical nutrition. It just makes it easier.
Okay, so religion is a superstructure, and I like the fact that you mentioned average person again. Okay, because this may be, and that's why I wanted to challenge Dana in the beginning, and she already told us that look, I'm not out here trying to knock average people off their average purchase. Okay, I am talking about myself looking at what I believe in critically, says Dana, with me paraphrasing. And you're saying, look, religion has to be there and should not necessarily be questioned because it is a scaffolding, okay, that allows majority of people to be able to access this kind of thing. And it's like you build a fancy bridge on the other side and you're like, knock down the scaffolding, but no one is allowed on my bridge, is my main pushback to what no one else here has done. No one has done this thing, but people tend to do this thing of trying to burn down other people's scaffolding. But you ain't got no bridge for them, dude. Like, what are they supposed to do? Not all of a sudden become shamans like you? No, they're not going to become shamans. You just destroyed their lives, okay? But anyways, let's take another round at this by asking the simple question. The question which I personally don't like being asked or answering, which is, do you believe in God, Dana? Answer it, and we'll go through spiritual. We'll go to Ramil, Dr. Thunder, and then Dr. K. Do you believe in God?
Do I believe And God, yeah, I don't like that question either. So people say God, some people say Ra. If you're not familiar with Ra, that is more of the term that came out of Kemet. I just want to read this little passage out of Civilization or Barbarism. In fact, Ra is, in the history of religious thought, the first god, autogeneous, who was not created, who has neither father nor mother. On the other hand, Seth, jealous because he is sterile, kills his brother Osiris, who symbolizes vegetation from the discovery of agricultural to the Neolithic period. The latter rises from the dead to save humanity from famine. Osiris is the god of redemption, right? So for me, God is within me. It's not I'm praying to God as if it's a person, and people keep referring to God as a person or a place or a thing. God is within you. So yes, I believe, and that's why when I talk about spirituality or in science or whatever, for me, science is the seen spirituality. Spirituality is the unseen science. So you can't see a God, you can't touch a God. It's within you. And yes, I do believe we have a soul within us, and so that is part of this whole thing of the question of God. So I'm not praying to a person when I pray. I'm not praying for a person who they claim was here on earth, yes, but they claim when he died he rose from the dead. Well, that was his soul leaving his body. I'm not praying to that. I'm praying to something so much higher to elevate myself.
Okay, so you believe in the Most High, okay?
Yes, yes.
Which is not a. Okay, so you believe in the Most High. Spiritual Logic dropped the super chat, and the question is also going to go to Spiritual Logic right now. But let me go ahead and acknowledge. Thank you very, very, very much on the panel, also supporting down here in the super chat and encouraging people to do likewise. The world, I should say, deceptively uses science to cover lies, false narratives. Yes, we do see that. Okay, you claim that somebody is putting out misinformation when you've been putting out misinformation the whole time. 91 DVOC 2020 kind of exposed a lot of problems with expertise, problems with sense-making organs such as the media and whatnot. Okay, and the use of science. Okay, the use of that word science to deceive average people who don't know any better, unfortunately. But anyways, you say that indoctrinated people to see government and its institutions to overlap critical thinking and removal of objective moral standards. Now, Spiritual Logic, do you believe in God?
Yes. But we have to define God through.
Go ahead.
See, here's the issue. If you
let me ask you this: is it different from the Most High? Because here's what I like about the Most High. You can't. The Most High it's always one thing. It's always the Most High. Like, you know what I mean? So if a fake God comes now and tries to deceive me by doing magic, because it is one level up on the Matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really God. I'm gonna be like, no, I believe in the Most High, right?
Yeah.
There's something. Yeah, but go ahead.
Exactly.
Is it different from the Most High?
How do you quantify who the Most High is? And see, this is what's problem. People don't even agree on anything, but everybody can say they worship the Most High, but believe different things. And see, God, laws come from lawgivers. Laws don't come from oughts, they come from whos. There has to be, logic itself, all the immaterial values of life, justice, morality, all these things, they don't even mean anything if there's not a being to order his creation. If you wouldn't believe that we all come from energy, singularities, Big Bang theories, you have no standard to say anything. Who cares what you think? And why should other people care about it? But if we are made in the image of a creator that has intimately involved himself in his creation, then we are to live purposefully and meaningfully according to the same objective standard that defines our origin and our destiny. No other man-centered religion even gives credence to what meaning and purpose is uniformly. Everybody's fighting each other. Everybody's complaining about evil in the world, but don't even have a standard to say why it's wrong. Because to some people, evil is good, and to other people, good is evil. So there's no continuity, there's no agreement on anything, because everybody can believe in whatever they want and just call it the Most High. And who Christ biblically is is the Most High intimately involving himself in his creation because he sees the problem that life offers to us. Life created as free will because you don't know if you're alive if you can't make your own choices. Making your own choices gives everybody the potential to do evil. Now, what is evil? If we just disobeying this objective law that is written on our conscience and our hearts, reflected in the biblical law. The biblical law uniformly is proven by our conscience. Everybody agrees with it. Whether you say you believe in the Bible or not, you want to be treated by the same laws of the Bible. But if it's not the Bible, if it's the standard, then who cares? If any other man-centered religion justifies taking your life. So all these other religions, you can believe in Egyptology, Kemet, you can believe in any other religions. Those man-centered, prideful
Kemet is
religions.
not a religion.
Would you wait? I didn't
No, but I'm
interrupt.
just correcting you.
I didn't
Don't mix
interrupt.
it up with something that's not true.
Well, your anthropological analysis of Kemet doesn't make people have to care about why your life is valuable. They don't have to care about it because you believe in anthropology, which comes from subjective nonsense, because there's an anthropology that says that you can come from anything. So anthropology and science don't uniformly have an agreement to nothing. You have to define God intimately of how he involved himself in his creation to satisfy things we can't override. We can't do nothing about evil on our own because we have an evil nature. We all have the potential to do it. So how can we overcome something that's part of our nature? In death, we are going to die. And we all know that you're not going to disappear and turn into nothing. You can believe that all you want. But if you are nothing, then you don't have a soul. And we know that there is an immaterial aspect of us because we have immaterial mind, logic, morality, justice. They don't come from stardust. They don't come from pure energy. So these things, like I said, life comes from life, mind comes from mind. And we have to understand this.
Well, let me understand you, because basically you're saying that logic doesn't come from sun dust or whatever, but it sounds like you're basing everything that you need, you personally,
No,
from the
I didn't
Bible,
say
because
everything.
You just said that you don't need to understand anthropology. Do you know what anthropology means? You know
Yes, I know what it means.
What does it mean?
Anthropology is you trying to understand how something came into being, the
No,
beginning.
anthropology is the study of the human race. So,
But
the Bible can't, the Bible is the Bible, right? If you need the Bible to help you with logical decision making on how to live your life, on how to feel, then okay, fine. That's what you need.
No,
I'm not trying to
that's not exactly
that.
what I said. And to correct you, because you wanted to correct me, so let me correct you. I said if it's all about people out of their own pride to believe what they want, there's no agreement on anything. So you agreeing and believing in the anthropology of Kemet doesn't help anybody else who disagrees with you come to an objective moral standard of how we should all be treated based on the complaints and based on the things we complain about. Everybody complains, so everybody wants to be treated the same way. But if everybody has a prideful view of where they come from, there's no way you can agree with that, and that's just chaos.
Well, everybody don't want to be treated the same way, because there are some people who want to be treated with superiority.
No,
So what?
no, they're lying. That's deceptive.
We're gonna table it again. I know this is mainly you guys' conversation. Okay, I get it. But let's ask.
It's like he's going from the Bible to how people want to be treated. It's
okay.
Well,
but there's one question on the table, and I'm gonna extract.
And so does.
Hold on, spiritual data. I'm gonna extract basically the answer that you've given to the question on the table, which is that you believe in the Most High, but you're gonna add this thing about look. If everyone can just get away, the Most High is a cop out. That's kind of why I like it, by the way.
The Most High isn't. I said the Most High is me.
Okay,
my Most High, not you and everybody. We all should be praying to the same. No, that's my journey.
The Most High, and I like that. By the way, and I asked spiritual, is that different from what you believe in? And you're like, okay, well, we have to define a particular one, and therefore it has to be kind of instantiated in a particular place with a particular set of rules. Okay, Jesus embodied, word become flesh, all that kind of stuff. So I get it. You've defined your God more to be God number two. This is a different kind of nomenclature. There's God number one, who's this kind of impersonal, the first mover. And then there's God number 2, right? Which we also understand, which is in your conscience, that kind of a thing. But Ramil, do you believe in God?
I believe there's something there, but I don't believe we are capable as humans of comprehending it. So when people are so sure, like the people who wrote the Bible, that this is how God is, this is how I'm like, how do you know? You know what I mean? I just don't think we can comprehend whatever force, whatever reason we're here. I don't think we can comprehend it. And, I go back and forth between there being a higher power and this being all random. But most of the time I do believe something's there. And I don't think we as humans can comprehend it on any level.
Now, we as humans can't comprehend it on any level. And if we look actually at the religions that, and again, I use the word religion, okay? In other words, people who are just looking at texts, dogma, institutions, people, right? Even there, you will find it telling you, you cannot make any graven image. You don't know this thing. You cannot even give it a name, blah, blah, blah. Even it will tell you. It tells you, though, that, hey, you're not supposed to do that. But then if people were not going to try to define God, then the commandment that you should not try to define God will not be there. In other words, people are always going to be doing that particular wrong step of trying to define God. But Dr. Thunder, do you believe in God?
Yeah, I do. I do believe in God. And so one of the ways that God is described in Christianity is the Trinity, right? In the Old Testament, there's a reference to there's a word Godhead, right? So, and it means that there are plural personalities, but a singular person, right? And it's kind of like a family. So this is my family right here. This is us today, right? And Father, Son, Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is like a feminine sort of force. The Father is the will, and the Son, in this case, is the representation. So the reason for my belief that there is a God is it's the prophecies that you see in the Bible as they are fulfilled in the person of Jesus Christ, right? And so the reason that I believe that there was a Jesus Christ, it's not just because of the Bible, it's not just because of the institution that gave us the Bible, the church, but rather it's also because of extra biblical accounts. For instance, Flavius Josephus and Cornelius Tacitus were historians of that time period. They were not Christians. I guess you would call them secular historians, and they both accounted for the person of Jesus Christ. They also reported on this emergence of this early church, right? As something that happened, transpired as a result of the existence of Jesus Christ. The resurrection of Jesus Christ is the event that it's the event that defines history. It's the singular event that it is the simplest explanation for all of the information, all of the secular historians, the kind of wake that event caused, the willingness for the disciples all to be crucified and martyred, killed based on their believing that this person that they actually had interaction with, they saw him after he died. Okay, so my belief in God is based on that event, and then after that, then it's kind of like most of the other details are of lesser significance, lesser importance. So yeah, I mean, that's basically my response. I do want to say this one thing. And this is the Kalam cosmological argument for the existence of God. And there's a guy named Dr. William Lane Craig. And, one thing that I got involved with after I got more serious about Christianity was I started getting into something called Christian apologetics. And the word apologetics, it comes from the Greek word apologia, which means a ready defense, right? The Bible says to be sober and vigilant, right? So you want to be aware and you want to be able to give a reason for what it is that you believe. In other words, this idea of having a blind faith that's not supported by any evidence, not supported by any facts, right? Not supported by history, not supported by eyewitness, not supported by anything that's believable, is actually frowned upon. So William Lane Craig is a Christian an apologist. There's a number of other folks. C.S. Lewis is one that is frequently referenced. And I'm sure everyone has probably seen or read C.S. Lewis. So anyhow, so the first point in this cosmological argument is everything that begins to exist has a cause. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. The second point is the universe began to exist. Okay? Now, evidence that the universe began to exist is that scientists, astronomers, are able to actually witness the fact that the universe is expanding. It's actually getting bigger. We know it's getting bigger. There's further and further distance between objects. So the question is, what is the universe expanding into if the universe itself is all that exists? Okay, so the universe began to exist. Therefore, the universe has a cause. The universe has a cause. The fourth point is the universe has a cause. Fifth point, I'm sorry. If the universe has a cause, then an uncaused personal creator of the universe exists, whose without the universe is beginningless, changeless, immaterial, timeless, spaceless, and enormously powerful.
Where you getting this from the Bible?
No, this is the cosmological argument. Okay. So again, if the universe has a cause, then an uncaused personal creator of the universe exists, who without the universe is beginningless, changeless, immaterial, timeless, spaceless, and enormously powerful. The sixth point is, therefore, an uncaused personal creator of the universe exists, who without the universe is beginningless, changeless, immaterial, timeless, spaceless, and enormously powerful. The power of this argument, this is a syllogism, the power of this argument is that if the premises are correct, then the conclusion must be correct. That's how deductive logic works. If you have no problems with the premises, then therefore the conclusion, it's infallible. You're not able to defeat the argument. Now there have been notable folks that have sought to take issue with some of the premises. I have found their arguments to be woefully inadequate, and it makes a lot more sense to just believe the argument because of this sort of gymnastics that you have to perform in order to make any of those objections even make any sense.
What are you saying with all that? What was your point?
So I believe that there is a God, and I gave you the reason why there is a God.
You're referencing the universe.
Okay, I'm saying that. I'm saying that something caused the universe, and you can call that something anything you want to call it. I'm calling that something God.
Okay.
Good. So you say yes, you say the cosmological argument, and then you reference Christian apologetics. Now, before I go to Dr. K, And Dr. K, maybe you can comment on what I'm about to say too as well. I find the cosmological argument and Christian apologetics to actually, again, and this is nothing against you, Dr. Thunder. Maybe I'll point at William Craig and him. I'll come for him instead. I find apologetics and these arguments, again, it's not surprising given what I said earlier, which is why are we asking these questions? Because to me, Dr. K, is like to say, well, it must have been caused, therefore. It's like no, I just wake up in the morning, okay, and I just exist. And then the experience is really what it's all about. I don't need to bend myself into a syllogism saying, okay, it must have come from somewhere. Therefore, now what? I'm still here.
Yeah, you're an existentialist, right?
Yes. You're correct. Based on experience, I understand. It's not going to work for most people. Most people are not like that. Actually, it doesn't actually make sense because all I'm saying is you don't have to do anything. Just start from here and you just kind of go over here. Why even have argumentation? And generally speaking, I don't like argumentation because I just like to go straight from the grokking, the intuition of it. But anyways, enough about me. Dr. K, do you believe in God?
I am God, right? So, okay, so
small G God.
Right, exactly. Small G, 100%. I'm not the Most High, actually, no. Do I believe in God?
I think Ramil's the Most High in this panel. Anyways, bad joke. Go ahead.
Oh,
yeah, on some kush, huh? So interesting speaking, right? So my community, we actually had a God concept, a monotheistic God concept called Ngai and also Wa'ak. So this was, pre-Christian, before the Christians came to colonize us. Now, the point I'm making here is, do I believe in God as a, universal concept of a supreme being that created everything? 100%. According to science, something came out that was not caused by something else. Whether you personalize that thing, that's now a different concept. However, for me, God is the prime essence of existence itself. The thing that caused everything to have the concept of existentialism experience, that to me is God. And if I want to personalize it and create religion around it, that's a whole different talking point. But in science, there is a primal cause or primal beginning to everything. To me, that thing which is uncaused by itself, because it can't be caused, otherwise the logic breaks down. To me, that is God. So if I take it deeper and I want to ask myself, do I believe in a personalized God? I don't believe in anything necessarily. I look at stakes. To me, I stake that there is a God, and I stake that there is a personal relationship to that God, the way I'll stake everything else. I don't necessarily believe you guys are here. I stake that it seems you guys are here. I'm having a conversation that seems like you guys are responding to me, but I can't really prove it. I can't really believe it because it just is a stake. It's a, it's a.
Could be a dream.
It's exactly. So to me, the experience is the most important thing, minus the logic of existence itself. So that uncausable notion, to me, that is God, and everything else is based on your experience, how you want to engage with the dream. Do you want to go and use God for spiritual needs to fulfill yourself? Do you want to create that story, that narrative that Jesus Christ is your Lord and personal Savior? Are you going to be, strict with those rules, and is that going to be beneficial to you and your family? So yes, to me, I act as if the Christian God is real, and I do
He's my
submit.
Lord, but he's not my personal Savior.
Oh.
Well, that's a very good, interesting.
Yeah, because he didn't die just for me.
All right, it's not your personal. It's not, you don't pull him out. It's not your little personal insurance agent.
He just died. He just died.
Damn! Here comes Dana with the jab.
Well, that's a Protestant talking point. The personal Savior.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because I also know, being raised Catholic, which is one thing. It's interesting, Catholic, Orthodox, and then all the different aspects, and then the evangelicals / Protestants come up with a lot of marketing. They have a lot of marketing phrases, right? You know what I mean? The Lord and personal Savior is just another one of those marketing phrases that they put out there. But anyways, Dana and spiritual, okay? You guys have paired yourself up, so we got to take you guys as a bunch, as a pair, okay? Now, a point that spiritual made in the past video was about, and he has brought it up several times, which is about this personal conscience thing. He's saying, look, the Bible works with my conscience, and especially the Jesus half of the Bible. Okay, basically saying, you know, it is written in your heart. Generally know, even if we're not Bible scholars, right? And spiritual is saying that, look, we all have these complaints. We complain about stuff, and we all have this kind of conscience, okay? And it's written in there, and the Holy Spirit can come. And so is that not a good enough? Because now we're talking about morality, okay? We know that there's God, we know there's truth, there's religion, and then there's this morality. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? Spiritual logic says, look at your conscience as a good place to start. And then if you look at a book that kind of matches with your conscience, that's a good direction to start going. Any arguments with that, Dana?
Repeat that again. Look at your what?
Your conscience. What do you, in other words, it's, some people might, if you want to denigrate it, you would say, look at your feelings, right? Like, what do you actually want? What does your conscience say it's good? How do you want to be treated? That kind of a thing. What would you feel bad about? And then when you're looking at a set of rules that say, well, these are God's rules of how to live, look to see if they match with your conscience, at least as a beginning point.
Yeah.
Do you have an issue with that or not? Because, and then spiritual, you can respond if I misquoted you as that, at least on that point.
Yeah. No, I don't have a problem with that. I hate when he leaves the camera, but I don't have a problem with that because in every religion or every thing that somebody may believe, it has a set of what do you say? Things to live by. I don't want to say rules, but things to live by that, you know, builds up your morality, you know, to distinguish between right and wrong. When you are a child, who teaches you that? It's your parents, you know, that is taught to you. Manual conception, conceptualizing the difference between right and wrong. A lot of people, you know, feel as though the Bible helps them with that, and that's fine. You know, where I'm coming from, there were different sets of types of way of life, different teachings, you know, the Bible included, that people live by, that help them with their conscience, you know, that help develop their morality. And the thing is, and this is, and a lot of these teachings were written before the Bible was. So that's where I'm coming from. But if people choose the Bible as their guide through life, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that when you say that is the only way, that is not true. So when, you know, people, when you say the 10 commandments, live by the 10 commandments, yes. But then it was also 42 laws of Mahat. Live by that as well. So one is not trumping. I'm not saying one is better than another. I'm just saying there are different teachings that people live by that were created in different times in this world, since this world was created, different times of civilizations. And a lot of those teachings were created, well, some of those teachings were created before the Bible was even written.
Spiritual, before you respond, now, Dana, in light of the fact that, yes, we get it, that there are differences, and then you say it's fine that if some people want to take the Bible, I'm asking you, when you look at a particular one, how do you judge?
Look at a particular one of what?
Let's say you look at the 42 or you look at the 10. Which one vibes with you, and how do you decide which one is going to vibe with you?
It's not that. It's what was I taught as a child. See, that's where, because you're taught right or wrong before you learn how to read, before you can critically think, before, you know, so you're taught right or wrong before you even know exactly what religion is. So before let's say I choose to be a Christian and, you know, have the Bible guide my life, but that's me as an adult. Before that, I knew right or wrong because I was taught that by my surroundings, by my family. And some people grow up or do things throughout their life that are not so right, that treat people wrong because of the way they were probably brought up in an environment they were brought up with. And so the teachings of morality, you know, your consciousness, that is taught to you by your guardian. You see what I'm saying? Before you even introduce the Bible into your life.
Right.
Yeah, so you're going for the original programming, and the original programming programmed.
It's not even
programmed early,
right? I mean, you're using the word program, yeah, but culture, you know. So it's teachings. It's teachings that your mother or your father verbally teaches you.
Okay, now spiritual. first of all, my characterization of that conscience place that you start with, that I think I heard you kind of reference a few times.
Hey, Big Elvis.
You can talk about that, but also there's another question. But before I ask that, the culture thing that you mentioned is actually quite important. Okay, Dr. K mentioned scaffolding that allows the average person to be able to access spirituality. Dr. Thunder in the past has talked about tradition, which is very similar to this kind of what is actually happening. What are the people being told? What actually happened in history, historically, tradition-wise, right? And you're saying, hey, you cannot just, because the question I'm asking hovers above all that and says, how do I choose? I'm still hovering above the universe. I'm a philosopher king, trying to figure out how I choose. And these points bring me back down. Go ahead. I actually didn't hear you, but
mere Christianity.
Mere Christianity.
You're still in the hallway, you say.
I'm still in the hallway. Shout out to what's his name? Chronicles of Narnia. C.S. Lewis. Yeah. C.S. Lewis, good book.
Misunderstood by evangelicals frequently.
Yeah, keep going. In evangelicals, we're not going to turn them into a straw man today, Dr. Thun. But anyways, spiritual logic. Okay, so first of all, that idea of the conscience, and then secondly, this thing of, look, you said that you were taught certain things, but then you turned away from it, and then you reread the Bible. Did you actually do that, spiritual? He's like, I'm being skeptical because I'm playing the devil's advocate. I'm like, of
course I did.
Did you actually do that, or was it already the stuff that was already in your head?
No, because my origin of my life started off in chaos. So I didn't have any structured environment or anything like that. I had to figure out being moved around, being raised in a lot of confusion. I had to find purpose in my life as a child. Most people don't have to do that. Most people are blissfully in ignorance of whatever their family tells them. I didn't have that luxury. My life didn't promote that. I had a lot of interesting hardships as a child that a lot of people didn't have. So I had to seek out things for myself because nobody else cared. So I was already set aside from indoctrination and tradition. And trust me, I can tell you a lot of things. And the piece that nobody is mentioning about other beliefs, other systems of ideologies, is that they have everything to do with man and his own pride. Whether you want to believe that it's the African thing, because a lot of people say the Bible was propagated by white people, but the Bible honestly deals with the issues of life, like evil.
Well, why spiritual? Why, when I look at all these different, let's say, for example, I take the Abrahamic religions, okay, and I start with the Torah and that kind of stuff, and then I go to the Christianity, and then Muhammad comes around and he picks these things, and then he's not even saying, hey, it's like drawing the same through line. I'm going to take the same stories and all that stuff. So why then is Muhammad about man? I'm assuming also that the Torah is about man, but somehow the middle part here is somehow transcendent, removes itself away from the same pitfalls. Go ahead.
That's because even the Old Testament of the Bible talks about God's commandments and how man could not live up to them. How people put on robes, they did these things, but they did so in idolatry. So the Old Testament just proved that even at best, everybody fell short from the perfect standard of God, which means that we couldn't overcome our own nature because of that original transgression against our Creator. We could not overcome it. We kept falling short. And people in their self-righteous mind believe that out of their own pride, they could finesse culture and say, well, I'm going to establish this position and status where I can control a group of people because of how I look, or because of my collusion with government, or because of all these things. Like, we even know that the scribes and Pharisees, which were the old school religious teachers of the Bible, they colluded with Rome for wealth and status. And they forsook the commandments of God for their traditions that gave them power and money. And we see that same concept throughout all history, where people basically throw morality, throw out justice, and everything, every immaterial value that we all want to be treated by, to the side, to collude with government and to collude for status and privileges. And so
another quick one for you, because I'm trying to make sure I get these points in here for you in particular, which is the one about the truth and then morality. In other words,
Mm-hmm.
there are people whom would insist upon trying to say, well, this actually happened. I can find the Noah's Ark on this hill and this, that, and the other. In other words,
Mm-hmm.
playing that game of trying to validate the Bible when I would just say, dude, that's not what it's about at all. So what's this weird truth you're looking for? In other words, do you agree that it's not about this kind of scientific truth or trying to say, well, did this actually happen? Where, blah, blah, playing that dance.
Mm-hmm.
It's about something else, which you're saying, you're calling the
yeah, I could say that. I could say that where the Bible is the only doctrine that gives our life actually value outside of man's schemes and his agendas. Because if we're not, yeah, in my opinion, if we're not made in the image of God, then any man, based on his pride and his own presuppositions, can determine what the value of your life is. Just like the government is doing now, telling you what you should do with your body, telling you how you should live, who should have what. So now man, in his own arrogance and pride, has become God, little g, in his mind, and he's propagating this through the lens of government to control everybody. We've seen this throughout emperors, Caesar, Genghis Khan, everybody in history. They thought they were God. The pharaohs of Egypt thought they were God. And what did they do? They created enslavement. They enslaved their own people from all different groups. So every king, every hierarchy throughout all history has done nothing but to control and enslave people from this premise that I am God.
And they use the Bible to justify.
No, the Bible is the only book that actually calls it out as wrong.
They use the Bible to justify.
You cannot use.
They did, but they did. I'm telling you, they did.
But that's because of the foolish people who choose not to read what the Bible says.
But no. You correct. But what I'm saying is, a lot of people use religions, not just the Bible, other religions, but people do use religion.
And science use Darwinism to prove why they should take somebody's life. The survival of the fittest. They can use Darwinism to say, I can do whatever I want.
That's not science. That was a man,
Darwinism is science.
Because a man, wait, because it was Darwin who wrote it.
But that's accepted as science by government institutions.
Exactly, because it was
just like the Bible can be
it was intentionally written by that man Darwin, and who was a racist. Exactly, the government.
But he was also a scientist. He's labeled through all institutions.
That's why
as
he's able to manipulate. Because
let me hop in here for 1 second. Spiritual, I thought you don't like the whole religion thing, which you've kind of been very clear to distinguish that religion is this thing of man, and then that there's this God thing, and then the biblical view and the God's law, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't see why you would disagree here with Dana, who is saying that religions are used by men. It's just like a definition of religion,
because
right?
the Bible is not a religion. The Bible is
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, okay, you can say, hey, Dana, or
but somebody can, if I'm wrong, but somebody can misrepresent anything. Somebody can.
That's what I'm saying.
Hold on. Somebody can steal your identity. Somebody can steal Dana's identity and say they're Dana, but she can say, "Well, that's not me. That's somebody else lying about me."
Yeah, then say it's not.
That can happen anywhere.
It's not the Bible.
It can happen with Kemet. It can happen with Kemet. It can happen with everything. So how do you stop? How do you determine what, if anything, could be misrepresented?
So then, why do you believe in it then?
Because it proves itself in my own life.
But you just said that it could be a mistaken identity. So how do you know what you believe is not what somebody falsely wrote or told you?
Because how somebody else misrepresents something I know is true doesn't change the fact that I know it's true.
How do you know it's true?
Because I know what the Bible actually says versus what other people say.
Yeah, good. And look, let me ask this question, because what you just said, spiritual, at the end, for me, is what should have been said a long time ago, which is basically somebody comes in and says, hey, I am doing things according to the Bible. I'm justifying slavery according to the Bible. I'm justifying slavery according to Thunder's thoughts.
Right.
Okay? And then Thunder says, no, that's not true. And somebody says, why? It's like, well these are Thunder's thoughts. It's written right here. It doesn't have to be a question of argumentation.
Exactly.
In other words, I don't see what the point of, because everything can be used wrongly. So to be accused that something is used wrongly.
People can use Kemet wrongly.
Exactly. What I'm saying, when you start defending yourself against that stuff, there's no ending. In other words, you just say, look, because it said this. Anybody can take stuff and use it. We all know, but this is the real deal here. I'm representing only the real deal, not what everybody has used it for, right?
Hey, Ike, you got a couple super chats. You should
100% big ones indeed. There's Solo TV, but there's also one here which I've been stuck on. Thank you very much, Dr. Thunder. By the way, we got stuck on the Dana show, Dana and Spiritual show. Thank you very much. It says, I'm riding with Dana. Okay.
Big Elvis.
Okay. You got a fan over here. And then there is Solo TV 84 giving us a bit of that fasting. He didn't mention anything about no fat, but no shade to you, Silla. But he's saying with his $20
no fat prerequisite.
it's a prerequisite. That's understood, right? I mean, come on. Okay, that's the cover charge. Wanna know if God and the Bible are real? Okay, he's saying, Dana, okay, here's what you do, Dana, right? You fast for 7 days, okay, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., okay? And you pray 1 hour, okay?
I don't need that question
God
to be answered. I wasn't
to
asking was he real or not.
reveal himself
Right.
to you, okay, Dana?
I think
you gotta try it.
That's not for me. That's for spirit.
Okay, 1 hour at night, follow. Okay, your mind is gonna be blown. Okay, you silent meditation
Right.
and a prayer for 1 hour, morning and evening.
You know that's
7-day fast.
spirituality. What he talking? Yeah, that's spirituality right there. That ain't religion.
But you even admitted you have a soul.
I just yes. That has nothing to do with religion.
So how do you quantify your soul?
Has nothing to do with religion.
I'm asking you a question. How do you quantify your soul?
Spirituality.
How
Because
do you
what
quantify that?
what makes me me, right? We are all made up of cells.
And why should somebody care about how you feel about yourself?
Life starts with a cell. I don't care what you think. It's
but
what
you
I
do.
think.
No, you do, because somebody can enforce their will.
I do not.
So you don't care if the government. So you don't care if the government.
This is easy, Dr. Thunder.
Listen,
You're
let
not letting me talk.
Let me
You're
break
not
something
working.
down for you, because what you don't understand is you are living under the government. Everyone on this panel is living under the government rules. So stop bringing the government into something.
The government is using the ignorance of people.
You're being used. Like, don't exclude yourself. Like, you be quiet, because I was talking before you interrupted me.
No, but you saying
I
different
was
things.
talking. I had the floor. You interrupted me.
So what are you saying? So what are you saying? You bring up my name, so tell me.
I didn't bring up nothing. I was speaking. And
you said that has to do with spiritual. That has to do with spiritual.
You asked me about my soul, but I was talking about something else. But
no,
since
you said that question should
soul,
be dealing with me.
And you want to bring in the government, you bringing in too much stuff that you can't even sit up
so
here.
what are you saying?
Okay, Dana, let me spiritual. Here's what she said. Hold on 1 second, Dana. Hold on 1 second, Dana. You guys agreed that you're gonna be okay. Good. You guys get the floor as long as you follow the rules of the show, Dana. Okay.
Leave the government out of it.
Hold on. Spiritual.
Okay.
Here's what she was saying. She was saying that what Solo was saying has to do with spirituality, as in it's a spiritual practice. All this meditation, blah blah blah, has nothing to do with religion, so on and so forth. That's what I heard, at least.
Yes.
But Dr. Thunder, what do you have to say?
He going into souls, like, stop.
So here is an issue, and this is directly related to
only one issue. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is directly related to the sort of using information wrongly, having a misconception of something and spreading that. So like a false doctrine, or like the Bible talks about private interpretations, in the problem with them. And this is to the tradition point that I said that I had brought up in the past. So in the early church conception of what we consider to be the quote unquote word of God, in order for it to be complete, it must include tradition. And we're not talking about the false tradition of men. We're talking about holy oral tradition, right? And the only way to access that oral tradition would be through apostolic succession. This is the reason why the early church established apostolic succession. And apostolic succession is like a master-apprentice sort of relationship that would stretch all the way back through ordination from, say, and the Catholic Church can claim this, the Orthodox Church claims this, the Oriental Orthodox, the Coptic Orthodox Church can claim this, and this is an unbroken apostolic succession through ordination, where a bishop ordained a priest, a deacon, or another bishop, right? So those are the three sort of ministry things from the very beginning. So from today, stretching all the way back to one of the apostles, actual apostles of Jesus. That is unbroken apostolic succession. Why is that important? That's important actually to protect the Bible from being misinterpreted, from being picked apart and used in all kinds of different ways. It actually was there to protect from having, as the Protestants have, 30,000 denominations, each of which believe that they are saying something more right than some.
Which ended up happening regardless, right? I mean,
right. All of this splintering. But at least with this unbroken apostolic succession, even if the splintering happens, you can at least trace back to what the source is. Okay, and so there's collections of writings like the early church fathers, and even understanding where the Bible came from, the process that led to the New Testament canon of Scripture in particular, why that stuff is important, and why it is important to actually not just understand the language and understand historical features of that time period, but to understand what did the early church fathers believe that sections of Scripture actually meant. What did they say that it meant?
I have a question for you, Dr. Dunn.
That stuff is very important if you're going to actually understand something in its context. In my mind, I understand that people like to whip religion. They say, hey, I'm spiritual but not religious, and religion is the evil thing, and that's man's thing. Well, in this sense, religion is actually the thing that actually can give you a framework to be able to trace a particular
But which
interpretation.
religion? You're talking about Christian. You're talking about Christianity, because you have Muslim religion, you have Jewish religion. So you're specifically, let's just for clarity, you're talking about Christianity. So and then the question I wanted to ask you though, because we're focused on the Bible, and that's fine.
Sure.
But where I'm coming from is before the Bible, to whereas maybe Dr. Dunder, you probably think nothing was before the Bible.
No, I don't think that.
Okay, that was my question. Do you think there were teachings, religions before the Bible?
Oh, absolutely. Well, okay, so let's narrow this down for our conversation right now, just to the New Testament. Okay, let's just talk about the New Testament. All right, so for the first 325 years, there was no canon of Scripture. Actually, longer than that, there was no canon of Scripture. There were documents. So there were the writings of Apostle Paul. Some of his are actually the oldest. There were Gospels. It's speculated that there was a gospel called the Q Gospel. In the Q Gospel, you can find elements of the Q Gospel in Matthew, Luke.
I mean, are we talking about the Bible now?
Yeah.
Why? Is that the topic?
Okay, I don't understand your question then.
Because I just asked you, right? Do you believe that there were other religions and stuff before the Bible? You say yes, but now you're going to the Bible.
Oh, I thought you were asking if there were things before the Bible.
Before the Bible even existed.
Sure. And that was why I was talking about the New Testament canon of Scripture.
Because in the Bible you saying that
actually came to be, therefore it's going before the Bible, and say even the Bible, we can even talk about how it came to be, right? That kind of a thing. So it's not like it's always been
my
there.
My argument would be, I don't consider the Bible the ultimate source.
Mm-hmm.
I consider the church to be the ultimate source, because it's actually the church that gave us the Bible. So then
they chose, right?
Critical. Then it makes it very much critical.
Oh, Bishop say he don't mess with the church. Uh-oh.
Yeah, so this makes it very much critical what it is, what church we're talking about,
and why they put it together, and how they put it together, and for what reasons.
Right, and actually the word church. What does the word church mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And is everybody allowed to, even all these 30,000 Protestant denominations, are they all equally allowed to claim the term church?
let me
I would argue that the answer to that is no.
Okay.
But
so let me interest there a little bit, because when I said to you, do you believe there were other teachings and religions and stuff before the Bible? Because where I'm coming from, before scriptures for the Bible, thousands of years prior, and that's when I'm referencing the Kemetic people. To your point, when one of the things you said earlier, you said the Trinity, right?
Yes.
The Trinity, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Yes.
But that concept came from Kemet. The Kemetic
has been proven true, false. There's
no,
there's
it has.
there's nothing.
See, this is what we're
there's
not going to do. This is what we're not
go
going to
to
do.
go to
I was
Egyptian
talking,
mythology.
and I let Dr. Dunder talk.
You
I did
interrupted
not
me.
interrupt him.
When you said
Now
Hold
I'm
on.
when I
talking
said
to
something
Dr.
wrong,
Let her finish the
Dunder.
spiritual.
Let me finish
Let her finish the
talking. We're not going to do
Dana,
that.
hold on, Dana. Hold on,
Keep
Dana.
typing in the
Finish your question.
chat.
Then be
Keep typing in the
consistent.
chat.
I will, and be
we'll let you-
consistent.
Thank you. So then let me finish speaking to Dr. Thunder. So as I was saying, referencing what you was talking about, the Trinity. When you're talking about the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, that concept came from the Kemetic people. When you're talking about Asar, Aset, and Haru. So that whole concept of the Trinity was already known in the civilization thousands of years prior, before the times of the Bible. And that's what I'm saying, to where I'm not discrediting, I'm not saying, oh, what you do is wrong, what I'm doing is right. Where I'm starting from what was before that. I'm not going to hold my guide through life by using the Bible, because it was teaching before that that they took from Kemetic and put in the Bible and spin it in their own little way.
So let me say one thing. So again, and I said this earlier, because an idea existed prior does not mean that if it is used later, that invalidates the use of that idea. In the Orthodox perspective, there's less to do about having to be the ones that authored something. So if something is true, it's true.
Okay.
Okay.
Pause right there, because I agree with you 100%. The problem that I have, particularly with the Bible, is that religion, the Christian religion,
you have problems with
would
Christians,
tell you, those are the ones who created the Holy Bible, would tell you that time the Kemetic people, no, that didn't exist. That's for anything. They were like evil. They would say the Trinity. Wait. What they would say, the Trinity, what the Christians call the Trinity, they created that too. But that whole story of the Trinity was already written. That concept, the concept of the Trinity, was not birthed out of the Bible.
Reason.
It was already it was already what you just said, something that happened. But the Bible, the Christians picked it up and flipped it, but they teach people, the Christian religion teach people what they put in the Bible is how it always been, and that's just the truth. Everything else is wrong.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that that's actually what you're talking about specifically now is more of a Protestant sort of alteration of the way things were, because
not in Protestant. I'm going back. Did you take the Catholics?
Hold up, because the idea that only we are right that's a Protestant.
No, that's a Catholic too.
No, it's
yes.
Just listen to me. It's not. It's a Protestant thing that only we are right.
I don't believe that. Okay, I disagree with you on that. But go ahead.
Just listen to me. The early church conception on these matters is that truth is truth. If something is correct, it's correct. And this is even down to certain spiritual practices. And this is actually why, and this is why the Catholics did this more than the Orthodox did. But this is why stuff like adopting certain things that were already existed. So stuff like You know, a lot of folks
festivals of the solstice and this, that,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
other,
yeah.
or the cross, like you mentioned before.
That's right. A lot of folks that are sort of Christian naysayers, they have an issue with evergreen trees and X, Y, and Z, and see that comes from this and that's pagan, and even people that are Christians, they will have issues with this because the origin of that was Catholics basically going to different parts of the world and basically adopting certain customs and incorporating it into the religion. And part of that is just has to do with using the language of the people, the culture and customs of the people, to teach to them things that they didn't understand. You use things that people understand to explain to them things that they don't understand. But my point is if the view is that only the Catholics are right, if that's what they actually thought, there's no way that they would have gone to these other areas in the world and then basically taken in customs and traditions, local traditions. There's no way that they would do
They have to have a standard. They have to have something that is outside in order to be able to choose. And this is something that you mentioned about the religion actually assembling this thing. And I'm going to go to spiritual because Mr. Ramil pointed out something, a seeming contradiction. I don't think it's a contradiction, but spiritual has to explain himself, okay? Spiritual says, I'm a Bible believer, okay? But now, spiritual, okay, the Bible was assembled by a group. They had judgments, reasons, and such, why they kept certain things in and left other things out. Insofar as we are thinking human beings, we can go look at the books, for example, that they left out, or look at the reasons why they put some in and so on and so forth. Yeah. Have you done that, spiritual, right? Because you're just saying that you have this Bible and you don't believe in the church, but the church is actually put the Bible together, the religion, the at least early, blah, blah, blah. Have you done that study to see what they included and why they chose to include that?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the Council of Nicaea and what people say about Emperor Constantine and all these things. And honestly, the Bible actually still deals with the same issues of life because what it says is still applicable to what we actually need and everybody wants in society, regardless to how you feel about it. It's still the only thing that justifies justice and moral treatment on the same objective standard. Without that, everybody can believe what they want, make up their own rules, and live how they want, and then complain and feel victimized by some other culture until they die and have no solution for evil in the world or death. Because believing in any of these man-centered religions, it doesn't have any real bearing on actual life. I would ask anybody, how does believing in Kemet help you in real life? They have nothing to say, but it just makes me feel like I'm black.
How does believing in the Bible help you?
Dana, I thought you were not going to take the bait. Dana,
no, I'm not taking no bait because this is what he's been doing this whole show. You keep questioning somebody else's standpoint, right?
Like you.
But you never prove your own. No, you did not. You are talking about what you believe in, and I'm not arguing with that. But you can't sit up here and say that, well, if I don't understand how believing in Kemet could help you with your life. But I'm not saying how is the Bible helping with you. If the Bible helps you, it helps you. If me understanding Kemetic people and that civilization helps me, help me. But that civilization came before the Bible. That's what I'm saying.
Are you gonna let me finish then?
No, because I wasn't finished with my sentence. But
it was for me. It was for me. It was I was talking to Ike.
I want you to answer it.
I was talking to
Ike. But now you know how I feel when you
interrupted. I'm not talking to you.
Now you know how I feel. So go ahead.
So practice what you preach.
You're not even listening to what that last statement that I'm asking you a question.
I don't know what you're saying.
Kemet came before the Bible.
You can't prove that. Fact is that you can't prove that.
I did, honey. I said
based on a book you read.
I read. No, ain't no book. It's resources. Listen, go back to the beginning of the show because you're not paying attention. You ain't come up with here to prove your stance.
Kemet is not accepted by any Egyptian historical account.
Prove your standpoints. Prove the Bible.
I did.
Prove what you believe. You ain't proved nothing. How?
I did. Because the Bible has a uniform.
Because you said
because the Bible. Okay. Well, I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
You didn't prove anything. You said it was, so that's how. So then we supposed to believe you? Come on, Dr. Thunder just broke that shit down. So prove what you believe to us. I'll wait.
You sure?
Okay, so spiritual.
I gotta respond. I gotta respond there.
Sure. Okay, go ahead.
So first of all, without the Bible, it's all your pride. It's you having pride in what book you validate for your existence. Everybody can do that. That doesn't draw no objective standard to have any real solution on what we actually live in the world. The government, since you complained about the government, I listened to your channel.
I didn't complain about the
Your
government.
your channel is
Stay
about.
on the topic.
I can talk about whatever I want.
Politics. We're talking about
Okay.
religion. I
Go
asked
ahead,
you to
finish.
prove what
I
you
can
believe.
talk about whatever I want.
I didn't bring in the government. This got nothing to do
I'm
with
not
the
talking.
government.
But listen, it does, because everything that's happening now, what people believe, has direct consequences of what the government is doing, because they're weaponizing the worldview that people have. To create, you call about justice and injustice and slavery and talking about the white man.
You capping, y'all. I don't believe nothing. You listen.
Okay, that's fine. You don't have to.
Listen.
That's good.
It's not. Listen, what you
That's
saying
good. You
is
believe
your
what you
belief.
want. Exactly.
You can't sit
You
up here and
believe that.
discredit nobody
Sure.
else because you
But
you
you can do that.
dodging,
But
you
you can do
moving
that.
the goalposts.
But you can do
You
that.
making up stuff in your head.
But you can do
you
that.
literally going to what I talk about on my channel, which is current events and politics.
But that's
we're
government.
talking about religion. I just asked you to prove what you believe.
I did.
That is true over everything
I
else.
did.
You just born in the government, dude.
I did.
Come on.
The government is actually what's using the worldview that people live to determine how they're based on that on what people believe. If you believe in the world and the science, the government is controlling you. And it's the worldview of people accepting what science says as truth when it's not provable. And it's just like any book you read about Kemet. It's not provable because it doesn't have any application in real life.
So
It just doesn't. The Bible
what you
actually,
believe
people
in
who
your
live, people who believe and live the Bible, they actually treat people as they want to be treated, and they live according to
Prove
the
it to
same.
me.
By me treating you the same way, by me not thinking that me being black is better than you, or somebody being white is better than you. That is weaponizing of the government to use division to discredit the actual problem, which is evil, and make people fight each other over race and sex. That is part of what believing in prideful religions and ideologies does. The Bible takes away that by putting evil in the same standard to every person, so that everybody's held to the same standard no matter where you come from. Everybody has to be held to the same standard. Without that, none of this matters. Because then government's going to come in, you claim it's not a big issue, but right now the government is weaponizing out through legislation everybody, whether you like it or not. So it's unavoidable. And if what we're talking about is the truth of life, then why not fight for the truth of life than giving into government biometric technocracy about the government being God and controlling everything you do?
Okay, so let me hop
He's
in here
telling- he's
for
telling prove it. So
the purposes
it is what it is.
I
I never sit up here. I never
doubt-
sit up here and believe anybody that all they do is just say what you're saying is wrong, is not true, and discredit what you're saying or saying that's not true, it didn't exist, but they never prove what they believe to counter it.
Okay.
Dr.
to you.
K, let me ask you this. You still there, by the way? Or
Hey,
is your...
if I can say something real quick, I think we need a second part to the show, and maybe we can start to land the plane. Maybe folks can go around and give their last sort of salvo, and then I think we can have a second part to this, because I think this has been very interesting.
A second part to what, honey? I'm busy next week. Formula One is going. They in Italy next week, honey. I ain't doing no spiritual religion and somebody bringing in the government. What I talk about on my channel, like, stop.
Well, you need to give us something else before we close. But anyways, hold on. Let me shout out the super chat. Real quick, and then I got a question for Dr. K here. But okay, we got Doug with the $5. You also got Dr. K with the $5. Okay, this has been a very you guys have been prolific on that super chat button this time around. Thank you very much. Doug says, "How can Hulk prove anything if he can't complete a thought?" Okay, and teachings of Kemet is included in the Bible, so it's like, okay, cool. He said that the 10 took the 42 into account. Anyways,
Wait,
now
can you repeat that? He said the teachings of Kemet is in the Holy Bible.
He says it's in there. Is that what you guys are saying the same thing, Joe? Right? Yeah, you guys are both saying the same thing.
You know why it's in there? Because those Christians took it from that civilization, that story, and put it in there, and then they used it, flipped it, and made it their own. Like you just proved my point.
Well, there's a historical
spiritual ain't proved nothing today. But
there's a historical problem with what you just said. But okay.
Okay, we're gonna have to narrow next time, maybe not next week. Okay, we're gonna go very specific on the historical points because it seems like we're all in agreement of the God thing. You know, we're all generally in agreement that there is a separation between religion, God, truth, and all that. But okay, there seems to be something about the record of Kemet. Some people are in the chat saying, "Look, all I find is Kemet merchandise. Where are the recent works on Kemet, for
Right,
example?"
because they
You're
don't
giving
read.
us one book.
You gotta get. I laid it out in this one. Go get this one. This is a thick ass
okay.
book. Yeah.
All right.
Civilization of Barbarism, Chiak Diop. Spirituality before religion. Spirituality is the unseen science. Science is the seen spirituality by Kaba Kamin. Like, these are teachers, these are scholars, these are researchers, they are educators. Those are just 2 books. I need to start opening up and cracking these books. How about y'all actually go and purchase the books? Don't do the Googling bullshit. Don't.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
and then let's have that conversation.
Let's do a closeout by, first of all, Dr. K, are you there?
No.
Okay. Now, you've heard Spiritual and you've heard Dana, I assume, in perhaps the recent volley or previous volleys of back and forths. What is to be, because basically, let's just take them as avatars. They represent 2 things. This is not the first time we've seen this type of thing happen. What is your assessment of what's going on? You could call it, okay, they're missing this point, they're talking past each other here, or maybe there's just a breakdown of communication, or is it, oh, well, one is looking at things from this view, the one is looking at things from that view. Any kind of assessment as to what the disagreement is here, and if I may at least just lay out some few points in case maybe you didn't quite hear them all the way through. There seems to be a question of, well, where do you ground your morality, okay? And how do you know that this Bible, okay, and does not have some kind of okey doke behind it, or why don't you question everything equally the same way I question it, blah, blah, blah. Not, again, I may be misrepresenting things, but your final thoughts with regards to what they've said as well. And then we'll go Dr. Thunder, we'll go counterclockwise that way, but go ahead.
Right. So going from Dana's point, if you want to really go through the oldest organized religion, it wouldn't be Kemet, it would be ancient Sumer. It would be Anu, Enki, and Enlil. These are the ancient Sumerian gods. Sumerian culture is much older than Egyptian culture, and Egyptian culture borrowed from the Levant, which is the origin
of Kush, the era of Kush.
Not Kush. I'm talking about pre-Kush, pre-Egypt. It's ancient Sumeria in the Levant, in the
year?
In the kingdom of, this is 6000 BC. This is Akkadian Empire, or pre-Akkadian Empire. This is ancient Sumeria. This is the origin of all.
It's the first.
Mankind.
Ancient Sumeria is pretty much as far back as you can go historically.
Kemetic, that was before that. But
no, definitely. Kemet is much older.
Listen, let's do the part 2. We're gonna do the historical facts on the part 2. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. So if you want to do that, you'd have to go to the original source, which would be.
Yeah, I got the original. I got the timeline right here. Got timeline.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Timeline.
And in relation to obviously spiritual logic, there is no argument that Christianity or rather the Bible is any more supreme to any other book. For example, the so-called 42 Confessions of Ma'at, that is actually pre-biblical, and Moses was a prince in Egypt, and he's the one who's made of the 10 Commandments, which would obviously
that part people seem to kind of gloss over. It's like, Moses was also in Egypt.
Moses was an Egyptian, and he would have studied ancient Ma'at from Egypt, which again he would have been an educated class. So you can't really gloss over. I don't really believe Moses got it from God. He sat under a tree, got high, and then he got the revelations from the 42 Confessions of Ma'at, which he already knew. And then he just condensed one of the statements, I have not committed murder, I have not robbed, I have not committed idolatry, I have not committed adultery. This is just the Bible, versus the Bible is a bit more condensed and is a little bit 10 simplified statements. But if we go about where do we get morality from, I think ultimately, look, even if you do believe in the Bible or you have an objective premise, most people won't believe in that necessarily. The issue is we're still in the same issue of can we generalize this into a group level, government instated circumstance? And no, at the end of the day, secularism is what works. That is what we operate on because we can't even agree on the origin. So individually, I would say spiritualism is more important than sort of trying to find an objective thing. That is based on democracy. That's the system we use. religion has no, well, spirituality has no place there. We believe what we want to believe at the end of the day, and then your own specific individual life, you figure out the contradictions you're willing to deal with and the consequences thereof.
All right, very nicely put. I couldn't actually agree more. That is similar to my political position. And then my spiritual position is, hey, I'm a shaman. Don't talk to me. We don't talk about those things. Okay. You people can go away and talk and have arguments. I have experiential stuff going on. I'm actually here meditating and doing things and connecting the best way I can. And all these words are just word salad to me. Now, Dr. Thunder, what are your final thoughts?
First, I want to do some shameless plugging. I have a show on Thursday on Thunder's Thoughts. It's called, let me think of what it's called. It's very clever. Anyhow, I'll think of the title again later. But it's on the divestment topic. It's multiculturalism plus deregulated dating market equals divestment. That's the name of the show. We're going to be reviewing. Dennis Sperling had recently did an interview. I think it's called "Interview with a Divester." And it's this woman that we've seen around YouTube, several places. Black woman. She's got a freaking battle flag on. What's the name? Rebel battle flag as a mask on. So it's kind of, but I think he presses her and forces her to have to address some things. So we're going to review that. That's kind of the main attraction, but there's a bunch of other stuff that's going to be happening in the show. So that's happening. That's this Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come and check me out, me and Dr. Doug. And as far as this topic, this is an interesting topic. Of course, come back to Ike's channel for Ike and my show, Getting Ish Done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. It's Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, this topic it's an interesting topic. I do think that people, depending on how they are oriented, their personality type, the kinds of things that they need to believe something, and it's going to tend to that's going to tend to create the issues that they're going to have with religion, with source text, with where did stuff come from, and all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's interesting. I think we have the panel has different kinds of people on it, and so I think that has accounted for many of the sort of and even misunderstandings that we've probably had as we've tried to explain what it is our positions are, and or as we've tried to understand what other folks are saying. But I think that also makes it interesting and makes it actually probably useful for other folks that are watching, because they may identify with Ike more, they might identify with Dana more, or with Ramil, and or any of us. So anyhow, great show. I look forward to part 2. Let's go.
100%. All right, Mr. Ramil, final thoughts, sir. You came in here saying that we do not know. He said, hey, look at the original books. The original text tell you shall not make any graven image. It's actually one of those commandments. It says, hey, you cannot understand. You shall not utter the name, okay? And that you should call it, shall we say, the Most High. That way you're not deceived by any other lower. You're like, okay, there's only one, and it is the Most High, blah, blah, blah. Now, any final thoughts, given everything that everyone has said, okay? Anything you want to leave with this? You took shots at spiritual earlier. You took more than one shot at him.
Took a shot at spiritual. I don't think.
Nah, he didn't take no shot at me. He was just bringing up some points about things I say.
Look at this nigga Ike trying to motherfucking.
Ike messy.
You know damn well I got enough beef going. You know damn well I got enough.
Listen, Ramel,
beef.
don't put me on that summer screen.
Nah.
Don't put me on the
look,
summer
man.
jam screen.
I'm sick
that's
of these niggas,
that's what I
man.
call Ramel. He be putting niggas on that summer jam screen.
Man, I'll just be chilling, man. I'll just be chilling.
That's
all.
a New York saying though.
Yeah, bet. But yeah, as far as yeah, I just think for me, I don't think the Most High can be comprehended. I don't think us as humans can do it.
Thank you.
And I just want to just let that remain a mystery. And then there are times where I feel like everything is random, where none of this means anything. So at the end of the day, I find my own purpose to the best of my ability, and I just keep it pushing, man. I mean, I used to really think a lot about this. Nowadays, I just I don't really find myself being so what's the word I'm looking for? Not spiritual or religious, but I don't know. I just don't be finding myself in that a lot these days. But that's why I'm at with it, and I'm just glad to be breathing every day.
Glad to be breathing. All right, thank you very much. Spiritual Logic, aka Hulk, one of the original, protagonists. You the protagonist or the antagonist? I don't know. It depends on what Dana would prefer to be. That brought us to this particular conversation here. So, what are your final thoughts? How would you kind of summarize as we close out here?
All I would say is that when people get on their deathbed, all the things that people believe actually proved was really valuable. Because no matter what people think they believe, we're trying to rationalize this issue of evil and death in the world. And if you live in your life not knowing that tomorrow you could be dead, and you have no understanding of or any hope for what happens if I die, because I know my life, this spirit, this soul within me has more purpose, and I don't believe it's going to turn into nothing. So if you're not even dealing with the issue of death, and if you're believing in something that does not offer any solutions for the inevitable evil and death that we will face, then I don't see it as a viable even thing to enter into your thoughts. Just my view.
Thank you very much. And by the way, shout out one more time to the person who super chatted the most, and also on the panel, Dr. K. And we forgot to get permission from Dana before, but she allowed you to speak. And go subscribe, ladies and gentlemen, to his channel. Left the thing on the chat, and I'm gonna go ahead and leave it right now as well. So, the real Dana, what are your final thoughts on this here? Okay, you've left the book for us to go look into, and maybe at some point in the future, we're gonna look at some historical facts. Okay, we're gonna have a timeline that we're gonna agree on, and then we're gonna see what it means, if it ends up meaning anything at all. But what are your final thoughts?
I mean, you do what you want to do. Listen, you can't go through life, dismissing a timeline or dismissing history, because if you don't know history, then you don't know what's going on in the present or the future. You're just going to keep repeating it, right? That's the saying go. But just the whole concept of the existence of this world, which the planet Earth been here billions of years, planets, the solar system, all that. We can't dismiss that. And, as of lately in my age now, like I kind of was like, damn, maybe I should have paid more attention in science class, right? But my thing is, you believe what you want to believe. And my problem that I do have with human beings, particularly when you link yourself to an organization or a religion that's the higher power over someone else, or that you're right and I'm right, you're wrong type thing. No, believe what you want to believe that helps you. I got to find what helps me. So I'm not here to change people's minds or tell people what to believe or what to do. But I do understand that we do need to go back and understand, Earth, the creation of human life, the human race, the civilizations that predates the Holy Bible. But as far as your belief and what gets you through the day and, helps you with your morality, that's on you. That ain't on me. But also I want to say in conclusion, I don't like anybody anywhere. If you're going to dismiss somebody else, don't just dismiss it and say it ain't true when you can't even prove what you believe is true and back it up. Because you said it's true doesn't mean that it's true. Prove it. And then let's have that discussion. And that did not take place here today, except for me and Dr. Thunder, because he actually came, broke down when you talk about Protestants, Catholics, or whatever, right? But that's and I'm not going to sit up here and say, oh, he's lying. No, but he proved his stance, and I proved mine. I didn't get that from Spirit. But God,
all right. On
that note, on this Easter Sunday, he is risen.
No, he did not, honey. Don't nobody rise from the dead. That's what the conversation should have been.
Indeed, he is risen.
He ain't rise nowhere, honey. He turned to dust.
We should have done that one. We should have just straight up.
His spirit rose, yes. And
should have straight up done.
But not
he
just,
did not rise.
Not his body. No, he did not. Not with the cells, flesh. No, he did not. He ain't rise with that flesh, honey.
Case closed. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think that this has been good, you know. And actually, to be honest, this went better than I thought, right? Because this is one of those conversations that could just go crazy. I think that we were able to keep God not too messed up and confused with religion and truth and all those other things. Because here's the thing: there is no such thing as getting an ought from an is. That's where Hume put it, right? And basically means no matter what the question of how are we supposed to live that spiritual keeps bringing up, it's not something that you can objectively, shall we say, determine through scientific facts. Just me telling you, do this, do that, look at here, look at there. It's not a way for you to figure out how we ought to live. So therefore, confusing the question of, well, this scientifically true? Can I find that Noah's Ark, or the story was repeated, or blah, 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 sometimes has nothing to do with morality. However, there's still the question of tradition, custom, historical precedents, and things such as apostolic succession, as Dr. Thunder was mentioning. In other words, there's anthropology to be done there in terms of the historical facts and what actually happened, which is a separate thing from whether or not you end up deciding to be Hitler or not, right? It's not like if I convince you, hey, this was the right time period where the right book came, all of a sudden I'm going to give up my plans to conquer the world and kill 1 million people. It's like, no, that's not going to inform my morality, bringing us back to the same problem of, look, you cannot get an ought from an is. You cannot get what am I supposed to do based on just simple. You cannot do a scientific experiment to tell you that. And that is the big problem that us human beings have to live with. I think we've had a good conversation vis-a-vis these topics. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, Spiritual Logic. Thank you very much to the real Dana, Dr. Thunder. Peace. Always good vibes.
See y'all later.
In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain, the face of evil lurking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannons could breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
Hey. People still in the building. Shout out to you guys before I end this here stream. Shout out one more time to the super chatters. Did I miss anyone? I believe there was one that I possibly missed. in terms of the shout out, but it is on the screen right now. I'm going to scroll and find it. And unknown. Okay. Unknown opinionoid. What is that? How do you spell that? But that is $2. Okay. That's $2 that I should give a round of applause for. Okay. Confrontation and remuneration, anticipating and laying the foundation. Children are waiting the wisdom of the fathers, fathers pretending to break down the borders. The likeness comes before the day, the move will never lose its way. As lightning hails the trembling of the thunder, I shall forever be awake to witness the debate. Forevermore my heart is filled with wonder. The Omega and the Alpha. I feel like I am the then, I am the after, and I am my only master in the effervescence of space and time. We shall set the sight of 1,000 eyes, and the initiators of hate and crime will make their amends with 1,000 cries. They're building up the wall, they're hoping we will stall. 1,000 soldiers marching for the settling of the score. Why don't you just give a little space and time? I give 1,000 praises to Abba.